So welcome to the Policy Committee interviews for South Burlington on August 20th, 2024. We will start today's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jesse, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oops. This might help. These actually help. Oh, wow, look at that. Quite a difference. So agenda item 2, instructions on exiting the building in case of emergency and review of technology options. Jesse Baker, City Manager.
Good afternoon, good evening. We usually do this in the evening. Thank you all for joining us. For those in the room, if there is an emergency in the building, you can go out either to the left or right of the rear of the auditorium and then turn left or right to get outside. For those joining us remotely, thank you for joining us as well. During this agenda, as the council chair calls on you for your interview, if you could turn your camera on and unmute yourself to participate, that would be great. If you have technical questions or would like to speak, you can indicate your interest in doing so in the chat and I'll have the chair call on you. Otherwise, we are not monitoring the chat for content.
Thank you, Jesse. Item number 3, which is comments and questions from the public not related to the agenda today. Are there any comments from the public? No. Anybody online? I didn't think there would be. Okay. So we will begin the interviews, and there's been a request to conduct 2 of the interviews, first for MJ Real and Stephen Crowley. Is Stephen online? Just making, he was on last night. He's not in the audience. Okay, well, MJ, would you like to come forward, please? What? Well, it's probably more comfortable sitting down, right?
Right here?
Yeah. Or it doesn't matter. Whatever you want. Because we're gonna grill you for like 45, 50 minutes straight.
Oh.
It's like, this is like a, congressional committee
Yeah.
meeting, No.
Thank you for
Well, good
having me
afternoon.
first. I appreciate it.
Thank you for applying. And this is for the Energy Committee,
Yes.
and you are an incumbent, is that true?
Yes. So I've been on the Energy Committee since July 2020.
Yep.
So for 4 years.
And, there, it says right there, 2020. Why don't you tell us what you like doing on the committee and some of the accomplishments that you've had so far?
Sure. Yeah, my focus is pretty much in the community engagement and outreach area. And so I've been very involved in, I don't know if anybody notices the clean and green feature that we have. That's kind of my baby to manage it. So roughly once a month, we have a feature article from folks in the community, other committee members, nonprofits, in the sustainability, energy, climate arena that submitted articles, and then I review them. Sometimes I ask other committee members to review them, and we have a lot of talent, you may know, on the committee, so some folks will, make comments or correct, and then I send it on to the other paper. I worked to redo the website because the website content had been very focused on the energy prize a few years ago. That was before my time. So we redid it, and I think the city's redoing their website in the next few months or something, and we're going to migrate all the content over and make sure it's current again. We have our own e-newsletter. Right now, it's only like 220 people, but we send that out occasionally, and the city has been great. Work with Andy on that, and we're going to also be migrating that over to the e-newsletter that's on the city platform, and hoping to grow that. And he's also been great to work with to help promote any of our events. So I send him stuff and he puts it in there. What else? Front Porch Forum, I post to that. And then our events. I was very involved in the Energy Festival last year, 2023. It was a little too much to do it again this year. big lift. So we're hoping to do another one in 2025. But we're doing a number of other events. This Thursday will be part of South Burlington Night Out and have tables there. And then have book discussion groups, and my role in most of those is the promotion of it. So that's kind of been.
Do you make the Facebook posts?
No, that's Keith.
That's Keith? Okay,
Yeah,
I
he
figured it
does
was
an
Keith.
amazing job.
Yeah.
You know, I'm amazed how much content he comes up with for that. No, I'm not a Facebooker much.
I think I got a Facebook badge for being the
Oh.
number one, clicker and then commenter, just so you know. You're talking
Okay,
to
I'll
the badge
pass
winner.
that on.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, I can't claim to have any involvement in that.
I have so many Facebook badges, it's just amazing.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as a Facebook badge.
So the Energy Festival was a really important event and a lot of fun and very educational last year. And I certainly enjoyed coming to it and a lot of activities, and there was some music, and there were several canopies with informational stuff and different people from solar companies and you had some EVs out back, right?
Yeah,
And
we were happy with it. And folks have reached out again recently and said, "Are you doing it this year?" But I'm like, "No, keep. We'll keep you in the loop for next year."
Okay.
We really want to do as much as we can in support of the city's climate action plan. And so really excited that you've got a new position for the climate action manager, and look forward to kind of understanding how we can work with that person. But yeah, I think that the committee has done a lot of good work. Andrew, you both were, involved in that. So.
You've had a canopy at the the Thursday night out? Once?
We have not in the past. I
Oh.
think we did. We were asked, I feel like it was by the city. Now I'm going to have to remember. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. It was when the climate action plan was still being worked on in the early phases, and we were asked to help with some feedback from the community. And there was we did have, I think, a table there one night, and at some other locations that the city was involved with. I feel like maybe at some not senior center here, but some senior living places. And I'll be honest, they weren't that successful. We were trying really hard to get some feedback from folks, and it was not a complete bust, but it wasn't that successful. A few years ago, we did inquire about having more of a presence at the South Burlington Night Out. And it was at that time, more like it's all about entertainment. We're not doing those kinds of engagement in that way, education type events. But it's changed now, I think. It seems like, we worked with Adam on this it's coming up, and I feel like it's shifted a little bit on what Parks and Rec wants to do with some of the committees. Because I think they did something with bike and ped as well. Because you've got you've got your ready-made audience there.
Yeah.
That's the tough thing about doing a standalone event. You do all this work, and then you hope to get a few hundred people where they've got 1,000 people there.
Last year GMP had their a table with the motor, which is their little subdivision that lets you rent EVs, right? At night out.
Night out? Oh,
Yeah,
that I didn't
yeah,
know. Okay.
yeah. And then, CCOM Credit Union had, this is a couple of commercial tables, OKO, and
Okay, so
but they may have been sponsors, co-sponsors for the evening, I don't know, so. Other counselors have questions, or?
No, I've worked with MJ. She's terrific. So I don't have any questions.
As have I for many years. You're very familiar, MJ. And one question I have is just sort of in moving forward on the Energy Committee, if you look at the priorities of the goals of City Plan 2024, what do you think the biggest kind of aspirational challenge is from your perspective?
Well, it's just to kind of move on with what the goals are for the climate action plan, really, in transportation and housing, and to really get the public on board for that too. And I think that that's a challenge. I think we're lucky I think South Burlington in general does support those. But sometimes you feel like you're kind of preaching to the choir in these situations. But to try to get more families involved and really thinking about a lot of it, and again, in support of the climate action plan is kind of what I don't know if that's really answering your question or not.
Do you have any questions for us?
I don't think so. No, we're really excited that there's a position now. We've talked about like hoping that there was going to be a position and was it going to be in the budget, and so we're putting that out in our networks as well, the job description. So
Great. Well, thank you for reapplying.
Sure.
We appreciate it.
thank you for all the work you all do.
So I have actually just quick questions, because I think there are 4 slots and 2 applications. The Energy Committee, I think, presently has 12 slots. Do you think that it would be appropriate to just reduce the size of the committee, say, to 10, given that, and not leave 2 open to facilitate a quorum, et cetera? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought our number was 11.
Is it 11?
And I'm trying to remember, I know Tim is stepping down, and I'm not sure who else might be. And someone told me they might be, but I don't know if they are. But yes, I think that's okay. So you're saying that right now it's 12?
Well, it's either 12, 11, but I guess there's 4 slots, 2 applications. So unless we get more applications, we either have to leave 2 slots open and then presumably make it more difficult to have a quorum.
Yeah.
Or
No, I
just
think reducing it would be
reduce the
fine.
size.
I mean, I do have a question about, like, this is only a once-a-year process, right?
Yeah.
So if, partway through the year, if we still have a vacancy, can we ask somebody to apply and have somebody join us then?
Yeah.
Because, we're trying to round out our committee by, as diverse as we can make it with different folks, different ages, people from different sections of the city, but also with their skill sets and what
So
they
you're saying
come to-
maybe it'd be helpful to have 1 or 2 slots open as
Well,
for
or just
recruiting.
I just want to make sure that we don't have to wait a year. If we meet somebody, if we have 1 or 2 slots open and we meet somebody in January who would like to join us, hopefully they don't have to wait till the summer to apply and join.
We've done that before, right?
So typically, how you have the councils, yes, you could do that. How the council has handled it in the past for policy committees is as long as there's not a quorum challenge, you've let it go to the year-to-year process. You have made mid-year appointments when you needed to or when you want to for a variety of reasons.
Is it a hassle for the city council? Do you then have to you have to
It just has to be warned.
wedge it into a already busy?
Just be an agenda item,
Okay,
a couple interviews and,
okay.
yeah, and then executive session and then come out and,
MJ, that does bring up a question for me. Are there skill sets that you feel are missing on the current committee?
I think we have a pretty good coverage. I mean, we've got some real, people who have experience in that field, tech folks, couple engineers. We have a teacher now, which is great. We have 2 or 3 people with education background.
if somebody has, like carpentry and construction type skills, right?
That,
You did?
not as their profession, I
Oh,
don't think.
okay.
But that would be good. I mean, somebody in the transportation field would be cool. Housing, maybe somebody who wants to do public speaking. Yeah, so those kinds of things. But yeah, but we don't actively when we know that we're kind of down a person or 2, we say, oh, everybody's got to kind of reach out. Like, let's see if we can get somebody. And I know the city does that too, which is good.
Okay, thanks.
So, okay, thank you.
You in the front. Do you have a question?
It's a quick question, yeah. I just got the agenda, Tim, and I see this could go till 6:50. And I wasn't sure if you were taking people first. And if that's the case, I have a deadline to be somewhere at 5:30. And I didn't know how you were gonna do that, because I see natural resources is down a little bit. I don't know how much time you're gonna spend with this, so I was if it's gonna be tight, you know, I don't know how you wanna do that.
Well, now you're at 5:25 PM. I'm just putting you down there, 5:25, and,
Do that. I'm fine with that.
So-
And I'll wait until whenever, we can do that, whatever you want.
we had two people request that they wanted to go first, right? And that was MJ, and then Stephen is going to go next.
Okay.
And we'll try to get to you pretty close after that, all
That'd be
right?
fine.
Does anybody else have any time?
Well, there was another one here.
Start raining at 4:30 and I biked in, so.
Oh, that's the 21st.
Okay. So, okay, so what? We need,
That's
is it
tomorrow.
Peter?
Tomorrow.
Oh, that's tomorrow, never mind, yeah, okay.
Can I make
Yeah.
one
Yes,
broad comment before you move forward? So, I'm realizing it's not in your SharePoint, but on the website agenda, I did provide you all a memo, including, comments that the committee chairs shared about skill sets they were interested in. And I have one copy here if folks would like to scan through it. If you would like to see that as well. It's on in the website
you ready, right?
agenda as well.
Have you seen it? Stephen, come on down. So you are an incumbent applying for the Energy Committee again?
Yes, that's right.
And is this a 2-year seat?
I believe it's 3.
Does it say?
Does that sound right? 3 years?
3-year?
Yeah, it says right here.
Oh, so, okay, I'm not looking at it. Okay, right. Yep, got it, okay. So, tell us what you like about the Energy Committee.
Well, it's the first thing that comes to mind is that it's a great group of people, really talented, and as MJ was saying, a variety of skill sets. Some very deeply versed in energy technology and the nuts and bolts on that side of things, and others in more of an educational perspective. So it's varied. People in, I could go on about that, but that's the main thing. Great people, and really a lot of great intention to do good work. So what more could you ask for?
And that group works together pretty smoothly, and communication's effective, and a lot of ideas are thrown around, and
Yes,
Yeah.
and everybody participates. I think it's very, egalitarian and welcoming in that sense. It works really well. We've had a great leadership from Tim, who is unfortunately not re-upping right now, but he's been chair since I've been part of it, and he's done a great job.
what have you worked on specifically in the?
I have. I think I've been a contributor to a lot of different aspects. I was a part of a transportation review when we did an implementation plan for the climate action plan. I participated on the transportation implementation task force. I've tried to play a supporting role in a lot of different ways, and we've reviewed. A transportation upgrade to the ordinances, to the city ordinances, and just quite a few different things. My background is I worked as an educator and teacher, high school teacher for many years, and at the same time I did a lot of work on policy, state and national level, trying to stay on top of emerging issues as they came about. So I think I brought a lot of that sort of perspective to it. I'm a member of an appointed member of the state's Vermont System Planning Committee, which is about electricity transmission, and that's, I think, another emerging issue, and I'm real curious to see how that affects us. It's not just the big transmission issues, but the local distribution. As we, if we go to 20% in-state renewables, which is the new law that was just passed, that's going to have an impact on how all that is managed. And add in a bunch of batteries, and things get very different. And the growing number of all electric homes and communities and vehicles, it's gonna make some changes. So I'm really interested in seeing how that plays out.
I saw a picture on Twitter today of a barge beginning the laying of the power cable in Lake Champlain. I didn't know that it had been approved. I just kind of, I didn't see, there's like no talk in any of the local papers that I've looked at, so. First it was dead, then it was alive, then it was dead again.
Well,
And
that one
Maine-
is, the one that's in process is the one that's going to New York City.
Right, right.
And, yeah, that's been heavily debated, not here, it's not ours to debate in Vermont. It's on the other side of the lake, so.
Steve, didn't you also drive the book club thing? The books?
Pardon me? I'm not following you.
I thought you were responsible, you drove the environmental book club, right?
I contributed some ideas to that.
Yeah.
I threw in my suggestions for which books, but no, that was a couple of other people.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of great ideas about. One of the things that I do that I'd point to that's going on, as things evolve, we're sort of past the question of simply looking at reducing our carbon emissions. We've got it. Global warming is not going to go away, and we don't know how far. We don't know how. We just know it's going to keep. In all likelihood, it's going to keep getting worse. And as bad as things look with fires and you could go down the list, it's going to look a lot worse in 10 years. So that huge question of climate resilience is something that I'm not sure we've really addressed in a comprehensive way yet. So one of the recent ideas I've been floating with the committee is just to hold a series of discussions in the community about that, about what's in store for Vermont. What does that mean for our infrastructure? What does that mean for the social safety nets and health impacts? And then what can we do about it? I think that would be a valuable discussion to bring a lot of voices forward about.
Elizabeth, do you have some questions at all, or?
I don't know. Thank you, Steve.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Have any questions for us at all?
I don't. I appreciate your attention to the issue. I think that compared to say 10 years ago, wow, what a difference. So I was on the Energy Committee when it first started, 12 or whatever number of years ago, and it was not an issue taken really seriously then. So I really appreciate your doing that now.
But I got a nice, shower restrictor from you guys, right? And some low wattage bulbs. I remember there was some
Yes.
packets, right? That
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
been a
and that it helps out.
yes. Well, it's a long-term effort.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm just thinking that is there anybody else that has a burning need to go before John Bassage? You please come up. Where?
No problem, you're right in the rain, I don't, I've done that.
Okay. Yeah. I should put the glasses on. That really helps if you. Oh, look! It becomes clear. All right. Good afternoon, Havala.
Hi.
Let me just. I need to get. Hold on a second here. That's bike and ped. There. So many of these here. There we go. And you are an incumbent on the Bike and Ped Committee.
Correct.
Right. And you are on a 3-year term?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, why don't you begin to tell us what you like about the committee and what do you think they've accomplished and what you would like to accomplish?
Sure. I think, like everybody else, it's the people in our committee are great. There's a passion for safety and non-car transportation and inclusivity in creating a transportation network for walking and biking and rolling. So they're my bike friends. We have great meetings. They're actually kind of fun. I learn a lot from my colleagues. And I think we've made some impressive progress really under the leadership of Erica Quaylen, our liaison. The next, let's see, he's 24 now. The next like 3 or 4 years, we're going to see some dramatic improvements in the connectivity. The I-89 bridge is going up, which is not part of us. That's a special project, but that will be constructed in the next few years. The Dorset Street project in front of the cider mill will be completed. The Spear Street from Swift Street to the Forestry Building will be completed. And I believe in that time, there should be a redo of Route 116, Heinsberg Road between Kennedy Drive and Williston Road. Those are massive projects that are really going to increase the connectivity and make it a lot easier for a lot of people to get from point A to point B.
And Hubbard Park.
And Hubbard Park, yes, Hubbard Park. Oh, I cannot forget that. And really all of the points south. I think it's really an exciting time for the committee, and I really feel like we're firing on all cylinders right now. And it's a ton of groundwork that was laid the last few years. The Penny for Paths project was huge in helping us obtain a lot of grant funding. Probably more than sort of our share for the population, but I just feel like the powers that be see how many people could use this and how beneficial it would be. And they always like to see that the townspeople have a little skin in the game. So that's been helpful. That's one piece. The next piece that I think about, we have scored bronze for a bronze level city from the American League of Cyclists as a bike-friendly community, and we're working towards silver, and clearly we would like to get to gold eventually. When you attain a certain level, they give you a list of objectives that would help you attain the next level. So some of those for us were creating the active transportation plan, which we needed anyway as a city. We needed it as part of the climate action plan. That needed to happen, and that's underway, and I'm also on that committee as well. One of the other things was community engagement and events. And when I started, it was 2019, so we had a lull for a solid 3 years, and we're starting to pick up again. I participated in the bike rodeo and helped plan out the bike rodeo in May, so that was teaching bike skills and bike safety for kids. They also, I wasn't part of this, but there was a school function for Orchard School, like at the end of the school year, and they had a table up kind of talking about some of the active transportation plan issues. And then we did have a South Burlington night out, was a bike-themed one in the pouring rain. So that's, and the other ones that they've talked about are like bike to work, sponsoring bike to work and bike to school. I'm happy to know we have partners within the school system, and we have a Safe Routes to School that's active and really ramping up. And I think that's great. The council has supported that. And that was it's been one of our goals for a long time, but really needed champions within the school to partner. The Greenway just got temporarily marked in conjunction with Local Motion. If you've not taken that path, I would suggest that you go just kind of see what it looks like. It's a really, I think it's brilliant. It just keeps people off the heavily trafficked areas and really gives you a very pleasant ride to school. So I think that's great. The other one was biking to work, and I just felt we haven't really sponsored that, and I don't really feel our PATH network is ready for that yet. Like when we fill those gaps in the next 3 years, then I really feel like it's the time to promote that. Until then, you have to drive on the road, and that's just not a comfort level for every user, and I just don't think it's great to promote it.
It's still too dangerous.
It's still too dangerous. Like I ride on Spear Street every day, and I'm like, well, is today going to be the day? I don't know. I think it's going to be fine. So I guess that would be what I have to say. Thank you.
What is a cyclova?
Cyclova, yes. This was developed in, I think, Colombia, and they closed down the streets so that the pedestrians all have public access. There's no cars and everyone can ride their bikes. They started as a way to promote health. They had a high diabetes rate and they wanted people to get out and exercise, and it's fun. It's a great social event. It's all outdoors. So we talked about, and I've been working with Adam Math on all of these things, but we talked about closing down Patchen Road in front of JC Park. Oh, it's like Maple Street, part of White Street, but making a kind of a circle there, and it would be about a mile, but closing down those streets to traffic. So the U.S. lingo is to call it open streets, which means it's opening up to everybody else other than cars. But it's really like street festival. It would be, anybody in the city would be invited. It's not just a block party for people that live in that area, but you can play games on the street, you can bike, you can roll, whatever it is you want to do on the street, you know, within reason. Food trucks, and actually I was listening to MJ, I was just like, oh, we need to invite like the energy committee when we do this. We were thinking about doing it in September, but when we talked about it more, I think to really put on a good event, you have to really think about a lot more detail. You need people at the intersections with the traffic streets to make sure that everything is safe. And then for people that live in those areas, we just need more time to talk with people and get buy-in. And I think if you ask people, they'll usually say yes. If you force things down their throat, they'll say no. But also they usually have apparently escorts. So if somebody needs to use their car on it, they just walk with someone and they go at walking speed with their car. And that's the safe way to make that all work. So I don't think that's going to happen in September, but I'm hopeful for next year, maybe in the spring, like a kickoff for the kind of outdoor season.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just want to say how I love how you run your meetings with gratitude and thanks at the beginning. I think that's really important and really just sets a wonderful tone of cooperation and partnership and equity among the members. I think that's wonderful. I love the idea of Cyclova. I would honestly want to think bigger than that. Like, I would love to shut down, say on Sunday, 2 lanes of Dorset. You know, have 1 lane of traffic on Sunday and have bike ped this way, bike ped that way. I think you'd get the whole community out. We used to do that in our old community in New Jersey on Sunday, and people came out in droves and just loved it. So
I think it would be great too. And in Columbia, it's not just like it's every Sunday.
Yeah,
In the
exactly.
afternoon, it's every Sunday. They just close it down and it's just like a street fair every Sunday. How fun is that?
I'd love to think bigger and do something like that.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll work on that some more. But I think we decided I don't think we should do it this year. I think we should rework, make it bigger and better before we.
Yeah, maybe, and also wait till Dorset gets repaved.
Yep, that too. And I think we were talking about some routes like with City Center and kind of getting City Center kind of finished
Yeah.
up. Like there's potential for some really great routes.
I think so, yeah.
We were talking about committee sizing at the start of this, and I think there are 10 folks on Bike Ped right now. With some, it sounds like you have a great group you're working with, and it sounds like everybody's really contributing and enjoying themselves too. If there were some attrition on the committee, do you think you could still be functional and achieve the same goals and have that same commitment and spirit with 2 less, for instance, just assuming there may be some attrition at some point?
It will probably happen at some point, but I think it would be helpful to keep us at least where we are, in part because we have a lot of sub-working groups, and that's how we kind of function. Mm-hmm. So we have like the safety group, and they talk about these mundane things like sidewalks and crossing and road striping, and like how are the timing on the intersections. And they get together and do that. And then usually they'll put together things as a package and bring it to the committee to review. So it's never a quorum, but it's a small working group. I've been more of like the public outreach sort of small working group, the active transportation. We have somebody who keeps track of the DRB just for bike ped interest and reporting back. So there's enough like even non-committee things or outside work that I would hate for there to be fewer people, and it will happen because I know one person is already not reapplying, but I'd like to keep us, I think, at that number. And I think we've been at 9 instead of 10 because somebody moved away and had to leave.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You have any questions for us at all?
The only one was naming Bright Bridge.
What?
I sent an email a while ago. The I-89 bridge, which is what everyone calls it, it's the east-west bridge. I do not think that is a very great name. I think we could do better. And
The what?
Naming of the
the
bridge.
naming of the I-89 bike ped bridge.
Yeah.
I was like, I think we can do better than that, but I wasn't sure who to name it after. And then there was a Front Porch Forum post about Lavinia Bright. She's the first woman of color in the Vermont legislature. She represented South Burlington. She served 3 terms, and she championed the first parental leave laws in Vermont. And I'm like, she's a great person. Let's call it Bright Bridge. I don't know the rules for naming things, which I think is on the plan for this year, is naming spaces. And I think like that's a pretty big, expensive bridge, and it should have a better name than I-89 Bridge, in my opinion.
Are we selling naming rights to that for 20 million? Did I hear that? Just kidding. That's a joke, but we could use the money.
Yeah, oh, no, I know. No, I know. So that would be my only question is at some point, and I don't know what that would be my, as a personal citizen, that's my vote for who I would name the bridge after. But I don't know the protocol, and there may be other people, and I'm certain there's other opinions.
We need a naming policy.
You need a naming policy.
Yeah.
Something like that, don't we? We've gone through, no?
We've named things. But
Yeah, we've named things.
We've named things, but you don't have a policy about how you do it. It's on the FY25 strategies, as Havilah mentioned.
Yeah,
Because I was like, we need to name this.
for
yeah.
now.
Yep.
It's unbuilt as of yet, right?
It's unbuilt, but it needs a better name. And I thought, Bright Bridge, it sounds good, has a nice ring, she's memorialized. It's all
You're
good.
going to name that street pretty soon. It goes to the school, but we can't say what it is.
Can I just have just one more thing? So we spoke a bit about the shared use path at your bike, but what's your thoughts about pedestrian and sidewalks? Does the committee focus on that, and do you have a thought about that?
So I think one of the criticisms that we hear is that we're really bike focused. And I think there's a lot of us that do like to bike. We do have quite a few people who are more pedestrian focused. And so I would say, thinking in particular about the crosswalk updates that we've had, there's 3 new crosswalks that were placed on Williston Road. And there was a recent news release that just talked about the data, capturing speed data before and after, and just the presence of the crosswalks without people there has slowed down the speed on Williston Road. People are driving a little slower because it's a little more narrow. They're also just more observant of what's going on around them. There's also another crosswalk on Kennedy Drive by not Grandview. It's up toward this,
Yeah,
up toward the high
base of
school.
of the Twin Oaks.
It's the Twin Oaks. I was trying to remember. It's Twin Oaks. So that was another project that we've worked on because you just watch people trying to race across in that area. And so, wow. And then the other thing I'm thinking is we definitely need maintenance on a lot of our shared use paths, which makes it nicer. It's not really nice if you're someone who relies on rolling to get places, and and I'm thinking like wheelchairs and walkers and strollers, so not necessarily bike rolling, but other users or people who have unstable footing. Some of our paths are in very poor repair and really need repair, and we don't have a very robust repair budget at this point. And I think we're heading in that direction. But if you're thinking of these big picture things like climate action and active transportation plan, you have to put your money where your goals and your values are. And so it actually has to, you've got to find it somewhere that it's not going into car infrastructure and vehicle infrastructure. It's got to go into what the community you're trying to build, the culture you're trying to build. So in that sense, that's where I would put it. And then there's also there was a graduate student who did a bunch of research and he presented to us and talked about, I think people in city center don't always feel that safe walking in the area. So they've got decent sidewalks, although Dorset Street needs a redo. I think the timing and the lights is not right yet, but I don't think the construction on that is complete. They were just recently updated. We were missing the poles and it's not done yet. So anyway, I guess, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So I just asked for money. Any more questions?
Big discussion, but thank you.
Yep.
So that's all we have. So thank
Okay,
you very
great.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I think we'll call Mr. John Bosange. Did I pronounce that correctly? Bosange or Bosange? Bosange?
I've heard everything,
I
Tim.
bet you have. We'll just call you the boss man. How about that? Is that a new one? So you're applying for the NRCC,
Correct.
and you are an incumbent. Tell me, or
Did
tell
you,
us,
did you receive my packet and this?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't want to,
like 17 pages here.
once you're an administrator, you know, you're an administrator.
PV,
Yeah, well, I know what you wanted.
yeah.
I have always had a real passion, as I said up there, for the natural world, and I been involved with things in Burlington. I'm going to summarize my statement there, but that really, I think, answers your question, Tim. Why I'm here, because as I get older, I continue to develop more and more passion for conservation and preserving open spaces and reminding people of what we need to be thinking about as we expand and grow, and just advising people about the pros and cons of what it is you're thinking of doing, and that's what the committee is doing. One of the reasons I'm reapplying is, and there's two reasons, I think everybody would say this. One, I like the work, I like the content, I like what we're doing, and I like the people I'm working with. There are people on the committee who know a lot more than me. They're environmental science majors, and they have a level of expertise that is, you know, when you stay with something when you're always learning, and you're learning from your colleagues, and I really enjoy that. I add my piece, which is dealing with partnerships and municipal, the relationship between a committee and you folks or the planning commission, you know, that sort of communication piece, how's the best way to get information actually actualized and get recommendations taken seriously. So I enjoy that communication piece with the work that I feel very strongly about. So that's why I'm here. I want to continue to represent all that and do the good work for this city, and I want to stay in the this committee, and also want to represent South Burlington on the Chittenden County Conservation Partnership. I stay involved with the land trust here, trying to wrap all that stuff around and bring my sense of passion and respect for the work people do to help make, you know, the city a little more livable. And
What do you think are the top three accomplishments of the committee in the last year or so?
yeah, I think we've, that's a great question. I think we've been able to deal with, most recently, we're putting together, as many of you know, we're in the tree stages of trying to get the tree ordinance started, and we don't know where that's going to go. Hopefully, pieces of that will be built into the LDRs, and we'll have something to hang our hat on there, and that would be a big step for South Burlington.
But you did help with the strategy for dealing with the emerald ash borer, right?
Yes,
There's a lot
yeah,
of
that
input.
was a big thing too, and now that's happening. And that's a great thing for the city to conserve some and plant some and have that be in the budget. We've also been involved with hearing from people who come to our committee, and they are developing properties, or like for the airport, or some people down on the lake. We're dealing with developers, and they came to us and asked us for our opinions on what we thought would be best, and we listened to them. We went back and looked at it, and then had them come back, and so we gave those people advice on properties along the lake and on properties next to the airport. There's a few other properties that we've been asked to weigh in on, and we have, and that's been, I think it's been important for the people who are going to make the final decisions to get what we have. The ash tree borer thing was pretty straightforward and clear, and a sense of urgency on that one. And we did work well with Public Works and with our arborist here, and consulted with people and put together a plan that came forward to you folks, and here we are. So that kind of thing is very rewarding to do as well, Tim.
I'm also happy that the stormwater ponds didn't appear to be brush hogged in the spring.
Yeah, around the edges of those ponds, yeah, that was,
You folks helped with that, thank you.
yeah,
very
we
much
did,
for-
yeah.
Yeah, so we have really dense meadow on the, around the edges of the pond. The bottoms are normally not touched unless they're really dry, in which case they will go in the fall and just brush hog the whole thing. But
Yeah, that was a bit, I didn't, that's something that I learned, in all honesty. I didn't put my hand up and say, hey, what about, not mowing? But the more we thought about it, the more it made sense, to do that, to create that more of an environmental buffer around the ponds, which was a great thing,
And everybody works so well together on the committee.
Great. Again, you come back to a committee if you feel welcome. You come back to a committee if you feel respected. You come back if you're heard. And the dialogue we have back and forth with each other is very rewarding. Yeah.
Do you have opposing points of view sometimes that?
Oh,
that
sure.
you do?
Oh, yeah. But we've always been able to reach pretty close to a consensus. I've learned a long time being an administrator. You don't always get what you want. You're out there. Then if you realize how far you can go, because we want our advice and our recommendations to be taken seriously, and you can't be, out of bounds with stuff. You got to stay in the lane so people can defend it, and people can, when you're at a public meeting, especially you folks or a planning commission person, needs to be, on good footing when they talk about this. So that has always been our goal. We just can't have our opinions here. We got to think about where it goes as you move forward with it, and you have to think about that.
And staff does refer DRB applicants to the committee sometimes?
They are.
for
We're just
consultation?
starting to attend. We're getting every meeting we review the DRB agenda, and we look at what we might want to go to, and we send somebody to that meeting and just take notes and alert them to things too. So that just started. We're doing that, which is, we thought we would start at the beginning with some of the projects and remind people of things that they need to think about as the project moves forward.
Great.
Yep.
Any questions, John?
I know John is passionate, active, and a highly valued member of the committee, so I don't have any questions about the application itself, but I do have a question that there are 4 slots and 2 applicants.
Yeah.
I think the committee has nine
Yeah,
slots.
yeah.
Do you think if we were to kind of right-size it to 7, it would continue to work well, or should we be working hard to
Yeah,
find?
I knew that question was coming, not because,
Yeah.
because we've addressed, not because it's here, and we've talked about that, Andrew, and I'm not sure. We do have subcommittees as well. We had some people working on the ash tree. We had 3 of us working on the tree ordinance. Sometimes you have 2 subcommittees working simultaneously, and people are absent, they don't make it all. I think we're kind of holding on at a minimum right now, and we would actively probably want to go a little bit more, quite frankly. But if that's an issue, then we'd keep it. But I think we felt we were trying to recruit a few more people. We had Fran McDonald, we have a new person that came on. And so we're trying to get more people too.
Is Fran, you saying Fran's
think.
on, or he's applying, or?
I don't know. Is Francis McDonald? No, maybe not. I mean, excuse me. I'm getting him mixed up with the land trust. He's a member of the land trust, but he came to our last meeting. That's right. He was in to talk about things. But we have been unsuccessful in trying to fill those extra slots. Quite
But
frankly,
you think we should leave them open and?
I think you should for now, because the work gets a little bit intense sometimes. If that's okay. Yeah.
And my quick question, John, is every time I talk to you, you challenge me to kind of be a lifelong learner and go investigate something a
Yeah.
little bit deeper. So as I was looking at your paperwork,
Yeah.
and I may be calling you out, I don't know, or you may be putting me in my spot, but the environmental organization, bigger, not better.
Yeah.
Is that the reverse of that? That you're
What did I put down?
a member of?
Better, not bigger.
Oh no, it's better, not bigger. Call me out.
I'm calling you out then.
Did I?
That's the South Hero group, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I thought I'd update my resume, Elizabeth, and I'll go back and change that tonight. Yeah. Better, not
I
bigger.
went to look at it and I said,
No, in
not
fact, we
right,
just
is
had an article in Digger. As you know, I write a little bit too.
Yeah.
And so thank you. No.
Thank you for all your contributions.
Yeah,
Really
well,
appreciate it.
it's one.
Thanks, John. You have any questions for us?
No, I don't. I want to thank you for your work, and thanks for letting me go ahead of time. I appreciate it.
You're free to go.
Have a
Pursue
great
your
night, John.
dreams and your appointment.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Let's jump around a little bit here and go to the Economic Development Committee. Is Stephanie here? Come on down. She first time here? Yeah, okay. Have a seat while I search for your sheet here. Here it is. So this is your first time applying for any committee in the city?
Yes, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for applying. We really
Sure.
appreciate it.
Thank you all for your service.
Would you like to tell us about yourself?
I'm Stephanie Higgins. I
Stephanie's the light bright green on your mic.
it is bright green. Can you hear me?
Pull it towards you.
Hello. Stephanie Higgins. Yeah. I live off of Spears Street, adjacent to Hubbard Park. I work in commercial real estate. We're fairly new to the area. I have young children. What else would you? How far? What is the depths of your interest?
Why are you applying?
I have always, kind of volunteered in my community. In the previous community we lived in, I served on the board of our neighborhood association for 4 years. That's different than an HOA. It is a city allocated space. We had basically 4,000 doors. That was both residential and commercial. So we acted as a liaison between the city and the community. We did things like help identify and allocate city funds for what we call greenways, which were, areas people would walk or use bicycles to get to schools and parks just to make them safer, put in speed bumps, put in curbs that kind of bumped out to slow traffic calming. We would collaborate with the city on redevelopment, so the types of lights, location of lights, bus stop seating, bike, pedestrian, bike, oh my goodness, places where people could leave their bicycles. And just, we did sidewalk celebrations when we did things like, help the city put in additional sidewalks around parks and, odds and ends.
And what's your work in commercial real estate? Just can you elaborate a little bit?
I'm a real estate broker, so I work in commercial real estate, Donahue and Associates. So I am familiar with U-Mall redevelopment, generally familiar with pedestrian bridge.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stephanie, when you look at the goals of the economic development group now, what do you find, where do you think your skill sets would fit in terms of complementing some of those goals?
I can commiserate with anybody about challenges with childcare. I am interested in climate conscious communities. I have an electric vehicle. I have a hybrid vehicle. We put solar on our last home. We'll put solar on this home. This is what you're referring to. Yeah, and a diverse and sustainable, and community that has commercial. I work in commercial real estate, so I'm an advocate for businesses. Yeah.
What do you think are some of the challenges to economic growth in South Burlington right now?
Housing, affordable housing. Yeah.
And are you seeing that now with like in the commercial market, if somebody's buying something and they can't get employees because they can't find a
Yes.
place to live?
can't afford to
within,
live
maybe within South
near to
Burlington
their-
or
yeah.
within a radius of 50 miles
Yes.
or whatever it is to find affordable housing, yeah.
Yeah, so, different diverse housing needs. So single-family homes as well as condos and apartments and townhomes and, people need all different types of housing.
Have you attended any of the meetings?
No, I haven't.
Do you know when they occur?
I think so. There was some confusion about that. I guess your website said the third Tuesday, but apparently they meet on the second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday.
Second
Yeah,
Tuesday, yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah, for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, right? Do you know anybody else in the committee at all?
I do know Mike Biami,
Okay,
who's stepping down, or has stepped down, yeah.
Right.
So I had a conversation with him about the committee.
right. And great. Any other questions for Stephanie? Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
Sure. What's your general consensus about the success of the committee? Have they contributed positively to the community? I guess, is there a project you could point to that?
Well, they're getting involved in developing an economic growth plan, right? And there's a consultant that's.
Economic development plan.
Is it an RFP out for it, or it's been?
We have an RFP drafted, you've out.
Okay.
We have an RFP drafted, you have allocated funds for
Yeah,
it.
we allocated funding for it, so.
Okay, yeah.
That should happen in the next, we don't know how many months, but that's a big driving force right now. But they've talked about a number of things. I used to be the liaison to that committee, and they've had guests in from UVM, from the GAN Tech Hub, and people talking about childcare, representatives from Woodstock, and how they tried to help the healthcare business area. And afterwards, you might want to talk to Tom, because he's on that committee, and he could answer some questions and give you some background. But
Okay.
anyway, so yeah. So, well, thank you for applying.
Yes.
And we won't be voting on this until
Third.
the 3rd of September, and then we'll notify people afterwards,
Okay.
one way or the other. Okay. Are there any other committees you might be interested in besides this one that you know of? I mean,
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, primarily economic development.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you might be interested in the energy committee too.
Well, you
I'm
got
just-
solar
just throwing it
panels,
out
and
there.
you've got hybrid and an electric vehicle.
Yes.
And
Personally, I'm passionate. Yes, that would be. Yeah, could be.
but which electric vehicle do you have? That's the question. Model.
The one that has a lot of rebates.
A lot of rebates.
Yes.
I don't know which one that.
I'll tell you all about it later.
Okay, later.
Thank you so much.
It has the most rebates. Don't forget about the GMP rebate too, right?
Thank
There's a state one.
Thank
There's
you.
Right.
there might be a federal tax credit if it qualifies, right? All right. Thank you very much. All right. So let's go to. Let's see. Did I check her off? I don't think I did. Hold on. Let's go to somebody online. How about who's who is that? That is for Bike and Ped. Timur? Sutsuk? Did I pronounce your name
Hi,
right?
it's Timur Tsutsuk. Yeah, Timur.
Timur.
Last name is challenging for everybody involved. Yes. Hi.
Did I say that right? I said Sutsuk or Sutsuk?
It's Tsutsuk. Tsutsuk.
Okay. And is your camera not
Yes.
working, or you have a shutter pulled down your camera?
Oh,
There we go.
yeah. Can you see me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Why
Is it possible to raise the volume of your mic? If you know how to do that, it's a little quiet.
Um,
Hold on. We're gonna try to fix it here.
all right. Let me know when it works.
Start talking.
Sounds good. Hi, I'm Timur. I live in South Burlington, 73 Bauer Street. I moved to South Burlington 3 years ago. And with my wife and two kids, one is 2, one's 4.5. We moved here from Winooski.
Just give me a second here to grab. Here it is. And is this your first time applying to any committee in South Burlington?
In South Burlington, yes. In Winooski, I was on the Municipal Infrastructure Committee.
Repeat that. What committee were you on in Winooski?
The Municipal Infrastructure Committee?
We had a municipal infrastructure committee.
Wow.
We aligned our committees, when I
Yeah.
was the manager in Winooski before here, we aligned our committee structure to our strategic plan, 4 primary goals, and that was one of them. Different structure.
Could you tell us why you're interested in the Bike and Ped Committee?
Bikes to work.
Sure. Well, I bike 3-4 times a week, including dropping and picking up my kids at daycare at the homestead. And I have one of those cargo e-bikes with 2 seats on the back that I carry my kids on. And I enjoy running, kind of pushing the stroller around the neighborhood, and just interested in seeing a lot of those changes, investments that are happening in South Burlington that the previous speaker spoke about. And I'm just interested in being part of that and contributing to the community effort to improve the transportation infrastructure.
What route do you take to Winooski from Butler Farms? Do you think it's safe?
No, so from Dorset Farms, I go through South Village, down the new Penny for Paths Allen Road section, and then through those neighborhoods and through the woods behind the Toyota dealership, and then I pop out on the other side of Shelburne Road and drop my kids off there. To Winooski, I bike once a week to my office here, and that's usually I go Patcham Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you see are the challenges to the so your speakers are generating feedback, so we get an echoey. Is there a setting on your, I don't know if you're on a laptop or a tablet, that would suppress this? Because your speakers are picking
I'm on
up.
a laptop, but I'll try to mute myself when I'm not speaking.
So what do you think are the challenges in South Burlington now with bike and ped movement, if any? Are they perfect?
Could definitely be better. I think connecting the pieces that are not connected is a big priority for me. It's safety. So there's plenty of investments, plenty of good trails for my 4-year-old to zoom on, but there are many sections that are still not connected. So I think the biggest challenge is kind of connecting all the pieces into a complete and safe network.
And you work for Tetra Tech. What do they do, and what's your position there?
Sure. I'm a project manager, and this is we're a consulting firm working directly with United States Agency for International Development. So we oversee U.S. government support to developing countries around the globe. And I manage 2 projects in Eastern Europe and Georgia and Moldova that are focused on local governance and decentralization.
Oh, is this the company that used to be out in Heidelberg? What was it called?
No, we've always been in Burlington. We just recently moved to Winooski. But there's a couple other firms that do this kind of.
Oh, you froze up. You froze up. And you froze up.
Sorry, did you guys lose me?
You froze up for about 10 seconds. It's okay. So you're involved in contracts with probably USAID, implementing programs overseas, and
Yeah. So I manage 2 large projects overseas, and I do a lot of proposal development. So writing proposals for U.S. government contracts overseas.
have you had an opportunity to attend any of the meetings yet?
I have not. I have been reading the committee notes to kind of keep up on what's happening, the future of some of the trails I'm particularly interested in, but I have not been part of the meetings yet.
Do you think you have enough time to attend the meetings in your life?
The reason I'm applying now, not 3 years ago when I first moved here, is I have more time now. My kids are getting a little bit older, so yeah, I think so.
Okay. You folks have any questions for him?
I don't. Thank you for applying, though.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, let's jump to somebody in the house. Who's left in the house here? Let's see.
Robbie's here.
Hmm?
Robbie's here. Do you want to stay on the Winooski?
And Tom? Yeah, who's? Oh, Ravi, okay, all right. Ravi, come on down. This is for the Rec and Parks Committee. Give us a second to find the sheet. Oh, there we go.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah. May I share your news?
I mean, it's been a month and a half, so sure.
Yeah, we have to know now.
So Ravi is the new planning and zoning director for the city of Winooski,
Oh,
which is a great addition to the community in which I live.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been great so far there. So
and you are an incumbent on the Rec and Parks Committee, is that true?
Yep.
How long have you served?
I want to say like January 2022.
Oh, so just a few months, or well,
few
8 months,
years.
right?
Yeah.
And how are you enjoying that committee, being on that committee?
It's been great. It's been like great group of people, great staff, starting with Holly and now with Adam. I mean, I initially joined because I was working for the town of Richmond at that time, and I was their recreation committee's liaison, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I thought, hey, I'll join the committee and learn from the staff in the committee here. And it's been a great experience so far, learning from committee members, from staff, from projects, from the issues, from ranging from everything that you've probably talked about in all your council meetings. It's been a great experience, and I'm looking forward to re-upping my term, working on the master plan, and working with the committee for, I have no idea how long this term is, 2 years, 3 years. So
Is that the big focus, is the master plan for that committee right now?
right now, yes. I think that's what we're gearing up towards. I know Adam has his hands full with programming, and he's doing a fantastic job with that. And then, he's sort of like working with other committees on any other projects. So the master plan is going to be worked on with the Conservation Commission. I think we've reviewed GRB projects in the past, any opportunities in the future involving GRB review, that whenever that comes up, we'll work on that. Any sort of opportunities for synergy with Bike and Ped, work on that with them. But I think for the time being, I think for we've had discussions about the master plan, discussions about Hubbard Park, and I think like every other meeting, there's a discussion about pickleball. So
Discussion about
pickleball.
How do you think we can make programming more accessible to everybody in the city?
I think Adam has made programming a lot more accessible to the city just by expanding it to more ages and expanding programming opportunities. I know that one aspect that he's looking for is making sure that it's accessible to all parts of the city, physically accessible. I think the master plan will definitely help with that, talking about how do we improve our parks infrastructure and the accessibility of our parks to make sure that the parks are accessible for all ages and abilities. And then on top of that, what type of programming could be implemented in the parks right now? A lot of those parks could use some love, could use some better upkeep. And I think that the master plan will provide a good foundation for that, so we can hopefully expand more parks opportunities, just to see like how would we want to use the parks in the future, and what do we need to do to make sure that those parks can be used by all community members in the future.
Any questions?
So what do you think makes a park or rec area more accessible? How do you do that?
I think so. I mean, one of the big things I think it talks about in the master plan, which is best practice according to I forget what the national parks guidance is that making sure that parks are a quarter of a mile away, a 10-minute walk. So having a park in a neighborhood of any size, any shape, something that's there as a refuge for anybody to use is a starting point. And then with that too, making sure that those locations are accessible by all options, by biking, by walking, rolling, however. I think the key thing is providing the parks in the first place. And then from there, providing those amenities at those parks to allow people to use them in however they'd like. Whether that's accessible playgrounds, whether that is green spaces, whether that's a mix of elevation to provide a pleasurable experience while you're walking through that park. I think it starts with the physical presence first, and then the small amenities that come afterwards.
Do you have any questions for us at all?
No, thank you.
So you said planning and zoning director? Oh, wow. So, and how long have you been doing that kind of work?
In Vermont, about over 6 years now.
For how long?
Six
Six-
years. Yeah.
And where were you before Winooski? You were,
I was in Burlington. Well, for work, yeah, I was in Burlington for about a year and a half, planning for land use planning and transportation planning, and then before that, with the town of Richmond.
great. So, okay. Well, thank you very much for reapplying. Really appreciate it. And you have any questions for us at all?
No.
We will be in touch after we have our vote on September 3rd.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Robbie.
Let's pick somebody else online. Who's left? There, huh? Bob Britt? Okay. Don't know who that person is, but we'll give him a try. Is Bob Britt, are you online? You appear to be muted. We can't hear you.
That's good.
Now we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
How are you doing today?
Better and better.
Oh, good. But better and better. Were you not better before?
No, I was, every day and every way, I get better, better, and better.
So what I want to know is, why do you have one of your cupboard doors on your wall?
That is a fold down ironing board.
It's an ironing board?
Yes.
Is it really?
And it's positioned perfectly so you can still watch television while you iron.
And that's something I used to do in the early 90s with my little IBM white shirts, at the back of the room. And it mounted on the back of a door of a closet. And I opened the door up and then I put it down and then I warmed up and I had the starch and the spray. And boy, those were the days. How I miss them.
Yeah, retirement is wonderful. I don't have to do it anymore.
Do you do a lot of ironing?
No, do not. Not a bit anymore.
Could
Every
you
once
start?
in a while, there's netting, right? There's.
There's always time to start ironing, I think. The most ironing I do now is just pulling a pair of pants backwards and then taking the patches and then iron them in to cover up the holes, because then they last for at least another month, right? Until the next one opens up, right? So good. So Bob, you are on the Bike and Ped Committee and you've been on that for, does it say 9 years?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, 9 years. I started September 2015.
And you still like it?
Yes, I very much enjoy it and quite active on the committee, as you probably know. And yeah, I'm still driven and with the goal of trying to get people out of cars and also walking, running, and it's very important to me and to what the city's trying to accomplish.
Right. You have, spoken at several of our meetings about issues about Bike and Ped in the past in front of City Council. So I appreciate your commitment and your communication skills. Thank you. Is there anything you want to tell us about the committee right now and how they're functioning and what their goals are and how you think they're doing?
I mean, what Havila has already said is there. I'm her vice chair. She's the chair. The people on the committee are very strong. I am so impressed with my fellow members. So we seem to be working on all cylinders as far as people are focused in different areas, routes to school, as Havila said, DRB. We've got a subgroup that I sort of lead that is on safety and and our interactions with the DPW, so Department of Public Works. So yeah, we're pretty active, and the committee seems to be doing all the things that can help us get people out of vehicles faster. Trying to do the events now, which we hadn't been able to focus on, of course, with COVID, so that we're getting people thinking more about, alternatives to how they go somewhere. And city center is just critical, is having that infrastructure, getting the Heinsberg path done, getting this greenway working, just showing people there's another way. And personally, I'm in the market for an e-bike because it's a little hard getting from city center up the hill at Veterans Memorial Park to get back to where I live. So in the southwest quadrant.
E-bikes are transformative.
Are you going to be one of those e-bikers that goes 40 miles an hour on the path and like terrorizes everybody on it?
I hope not. It's amazing.
Luckily, they're
it's
limited.
More signs. We need some more signs, and we need to most likely set a speed limit. And not that it's that enforceable, but we just need a little more courtesy going on, and signs help that.
I was at the Tuttle Middle School community dinner, and Steve and Loretta Marriott were there, and they were telling me about the shortcut that they take to cut across back through the cemetery at Resurrection Park, and it cuts over to some street in back there, and then they eventually make it to the Flashers, which is the crosswalk across Wilson Road. And I've yet to take that, but we should have a secret list of sneak through, spots that you can take. Like a lot of people don't know that you go to the back of Tuttle Middle School and get over to like Barrett Street, right? There's
yes, exactly. That's part of that greenway, right? Yeah. And there's actually very many. That's one thing that I've always wanted to work on, is getting these public trails. Now, some of them are private and people just allow people to cut through, but it would be really interesting to have, like they do in some other countries, public walkways, so you can connect to neighborhoods, get people together talking, so they don't have to get in a car and drive all the way around. They can cut through. There's a lot of opportunities in Chamberlain neighborhood to do that. And there's some paths already with the back of the school and others, but there's just so many opportunities, so you don't have to go all the way down Kirby, around, and then down, find the next street. You can just cut through. So another thing to put on the list, but there's been other priorities in the meantime.
I'm enjoying just taking the remnants of the original Champlain Parkway arc after it comes off under the interstate, under Route 7. And I tried to do that on Sunday, but then I came to an encampment and I felt like I was violating their privacy, so I turned around and had to go back to Queen City Park Road and take another segment of the soon-to-be-developed Champlain Parkway, which runs into the developed Champlain Parkway, which takes you right to City Market. So there should be this master list of all people's favorite shortcuts around town to get from here to there. And
in all seriousness, I know we need to do this in any event to update our bike ped map, because there's been some infrastructure built, I think, since it was done, and some proposed infrastructure. But we should add to that map the routes that are public that people take. It should all be contained in that one map, so people can see it and people will start using it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a cut through from Farrell Park over to Brewer Parkway that many people don't know about, but
that's right. Yep.
So
it works.
I had a quick
Sure.
question. Bob, good to see you again. I know I owe you a call, but I was curious with your background working with Local Motion. I've been impressed with the work the Safe Routes to Schools and Local Motion are doing on the pilot on Epsom Parkway. But do you see, kind of with the way Local Motion has grown and evolved, do you see more engagement with an organization like that in South Burlington in really developing our bike and ped area?
Yes, I mean, they've got great expertise to add to the expertise on the committee. They just recently helped by providing a lot of the materials that were needed to do this Greenway project. So yeah, so that was great. They helped us with Bikes Out as far as supplying. I mean, the first year, which unfortunately also got rained out, they had offered all of their e-bikes and that type of thing for demos, and for their, and they staffed the bike parking. And so I do see a lot of ways. They attend our meeting a lot, most evenings, once a month. Someone from Local Motion will sit in and listen and advise. So it's helpful. So I do see more interaction with Local Motion.
Thank you.
They've been amazing on the Safe Routes to School Task Force. Susan Grasso is a superstar, just absolute superstar.
Yeah.
So I just want to state for the public record that Mike Scanlon has joined us today. And Mike, you have some questions for Bob?
Yes, thanks so much, Tim. Bob, it's nice to hear again your strong commitment and years of commitment to advancing this. And I know you've been a strong proponent of the master plan to basically bring this all together. Tim mentioned your excellent communication skills, and we saw those last year when you convinced at the 11th hour the city council to add a little bit more to the budget. But with that in mind, what is your sense of the resource commitment, and can a little bit more make a big difference? Where are we on that? Because it is about bringing it all together, as I think Andrew was saying, that it's important to have a fully integrated map that shows everyone the possibilities, but that also means all the routes are there and the safety features are in place.
Right. I mean, it's we've been working our way slowly as a city to build the budget. Striping, we're probably about halfway to what we need to do in funding on striping. There's maintenance. Again, this year, we're going to spend the money that you allocated in the budget for things like replacing the bridge that deteriorated down to Farrell Park. I don't know if that money will be used to help after clearing all the trees that happened on the paths from down through Szymanski that fell. There must have been, I don't know, 6 to 8 trees that fell, and amazing. And the fence has all been brought down, so in places. So there's definitely a need for that, and we just need to continue pushing these projects to close the gaps. Otherwise, we're not going to get people out of their automobile if they don't feel safe. So
thank you.
Did I answer your question, Mike?
Yes, you did. And basically, what I'm hearing is with more resources, we can advance this faster and achieve the city objective as laid out in the city plan.
Yes.
Do you, but at some point, this is also about coordinating with other municipalities. Is that coordination limited to, the city staff coordinating with other communities, or just curiosity, are there other bike committees around us that you guys interact with?
Well, we've had meetings with the Shelburne Committee where we just sort of one-on-one subgroups, just trying to figure out how we can get the connections to be made between the two cities. Same with working on the task force or design group that worked on the Queens, what is it, Park Road, to get that path to connect better with Burlington, and for us to get to Red Rocks, for folks to get to Red Rocks Park more easily and safer. So we've also are trying to work on ways to connect to Colchester, where St. Mike's is, and we've got a project to at least have the amount of money it would cost to build a path to down Airport Parkway was seen to be too much. It was 3 to 4 million when we had it scoped, and so we've widened the bike lanes, and we're trying to get a sidewalk ultimately built that at least will help connect. We still have issues with narrow road in one section before you get to that, what will in the future potentially be a roundabout.
Great. Well, thanks, Bob. I think you've demonstrated to answering all our questions. You just have a phenomenal wealth of knowledge on what needs to be done, and clearly there's the commitment there. If you're back here after 9 years and saying, yeah, we're not yet there, and you want to keep helping. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us, Bob?
No questions. Thanks. Appreciate the time.
You're welcome. Thanks for replying.
Thanks, Bob.
We'll be in touch.
And I'll reiterate what Havila said, and that was Erica Quallen has done a fantastic job since she's been on. I mean, I don't even think she's made her second year, and very, very helpful and positive. So it's been great to work with the new DPW, which has been fabulous.
Thanks for that
Thank
feedback.
you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks. Have a nice evening. Leo, come on down. Tom's on the phone, so you beat him. And you are applying for the Recreation and Parks Committee, right? And is it your first time applying for any committee?
It is.
Oh, congratulations. Thank you. Really appreciate it. You want to tell us about yourself and why you're interested in that committee?
Yes. Well, the CNN version is that I've lived in South Burlington for 10 years in Dorset Farms. And I'm from Barrie originally. I spent 25 years over in the St. Johnsbury area living in Waterford, and spent most of my career as a trial lawyer, although for the last 10 years I've had a mediation business. And on July 31st of this year, I did my last mediation, so I've created some spare time. I've always had an interest in recreation. I did a lot of volunteering in St. Johnsbury for the rec department there, and became involved both in their programming and also in their financing, because it was always a big issue of whether or not their budget would be approved. It was voted at town meeting as a separate item every year, and they were also soliciting funds from neighboring towns that were served by the recreation department there. I just want to say that though I'm interested in this position, the gentleman who was here previously, who is already on the committee and seeking to be reappointed, I don't know. I see that there are 3 positions that are open. I don't know if the 3 people who have occupied them for the last several years are also interested in continuing. I did see that Mr. Simino, who's the chair of the committee, wrote a piece saying that he thought institutional knowledge and a continuation of people who have served on the committee is helpful, because obviously they're already up to speed and they've been participating. And it wasn't my goal in applying to take the position of somebody who has that kind of history and that kind of contribution. But if there is a spot that's open that the person who occupied it is not seeking to be renewed, then I would be interested in being considered. I will say that I have been able to take advantage of many of the opportunities afforded by the Parks Department and the Recreation department here in South Burlington, but I haven't volunteered for any of the activities. I'm more interested in the programming than the facilities. But obviously there's both ends of the ledger. And, you know, if money wasn't an issue, it'd be great to have some additional facilities. I did read the indoor recreation center plan that was developed several years back. And sure, that would be real nice, but I'm also sure that it would be very expensive, which is always a challenge. So, you know, my goal, one of the things that the memo from Andrea Leo indicated was that, you know, do you work well in groups? I think I do. I always have been part of a group, whether it's a law firm, and I served on the executive committee of the largest law firm in the state for 7 years. I understand that people don't learn anything by talking, and that it is important to listen to other people and to be prepared by understanding the documents that form the constitution of your group, in this case, the committee, and what its authority is and what its expectations are. Understanding what has happened in the past would be important. If there are minutes of prior meetings and talking to people, I don't know personally any of the people on the existing committee, but it would be important to understand what has been done and what the objectives are, and to understand what the city council and the city manager are looking for from the committee, where it can be helpful. And I would like to think that I've got some generic abilities that would allow me to contribute to that process if there's a place for someone to help out.
Have you attended any of the meetings?
Not.
Okay. And do you know when they meet and how much of a time commitment it is? Or
I did read Mr. Simino's description in that the committee meetings have had to be changed to accommodate schedules. I've got a lot of flexibility at this point in my life, but so I don't know what the regular schedule is.
did you see any other committees that might interest you at all besides Rec and Parks?
You know, not really. I mean, I'm interested primarily in this committee because I'm a big participant in outdoor recreation.
Yep.
And I've had some involvement with the prior rec committees and in towns I've lived in. I worked for the rec committee in Barrie when I was growing up. So I don't, you know, that's really, you know, I didn't want to, you know, get involved with a more government-oriented committee. And so I was really looking to do something that would help other people enjoy the benefit of recreation, especially young people and older people like myself.
What sorts of programming did you take part in St. Johnsbury that you liked the most?
I took part in the adult programs, which would be volleyball and basketball, refereeing. Also took part in helping out with some of the kids' programs through coaching and through helping raise some funds. It was always a challenge to, especially in St. Johnsbury, to be able to afford the kids' programs. Many of the kids there, their parents couldn't afford to pay a fee for them to participate. And so it was necessary to raise money, usually in the form of fees that the people in the adult programs paid to help offset the cost of the children's programs. And so that's something that's I'm very interested in seeing, because I think that the more opportunities young people have to participate in sports with others, the more likely they are to grow up as healthy, well-balanced people.
Yeah. Any other questions from the committee member, councilors?
Yeah. So thank you for applying, Leo. So incumbency is important, but fresh perspectives are also important. So we kind of weigh both. And on that front, I'm interested in your thoughts, around our park and rec infrastructure. Like, as you go around the city, what improvements, changes do you think would be useful? And do you think our park and rec spaces are accessible? And if not, how would you change that?
Yeah, I think that the city has done a good job with a number of parks that are accessible, and there are a number of nature areas that aren't part of the city system that are also in South Burlington that are, like Eastwoods, that are well used. I think it's important to look at how the city might benefit from a collaboration with other towns that may have other facilities that don't exist in South Burlington, to make sure that the residents of South Burlington have access to facilities out of the town and vice versa. Um, you know, Veterans Park is wonderful, and the facility there is great, and the programming there is fantastic. Um, but there are some things that the city of South Burlington doesn't have, and I'm sure that was part of the reason that indoor recreation center plan got put together. And I'd want to look critically at whether or not there's some way to obtain the types of programs and facilities that envisioned, without bearing the cost of building it here in South Burlington itself. And that's where maybe, having a municipal swimming pool that was accessible to people, that kind of thing. I know that the pickleball's been an issue. I saw that issue come up, and I was aware that they have these padded pickleball paddles, as they do for table tennis paddles, and they are so much quieter. So I just sent an email to Adam Math, who I don't
They're
know.
very heavy.
Yeah, saying, this is, and he's already aware of it. He's
That'd be a carbon fiber solution for that.
exactly. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but I'm trying to head in that direction, and I have to admit that a lot of what I would hope to do is to become more well versed in exactly what opportunities there are, both within South Burlington and in connection with collaboration with other towns.
Other questions from councilors? Mike?
Thank you for the input, and I agree with what Andrew said. New perspectives always help. It's great to have continuity and knowledge, but it's also always important to have people come in and give perspectives. And I think the example you just gave is a great example, and it's an example that I would say would not just limit itself to shared resources when it comes to between municipalities. And by the way, having engaged in a lot of negotiations, I must say your tone and your speaking style lends itself to sharing information in a way that is, I think, easy for people to absorb and not feel that it's being forced on them. So I applaud you on that. You talked about that you dealt with in your previous experiences with rec parks, both children and seniors and adults. Can you maybe just share a little bit more, your thoughts of what are the hurdles that I think, when you're in a certain generation, you just think it works for me, and you don't necessarily put yourself in a different position if, I have children or I'm maybe mobility challenged. What are some of the things that if we want to have access for everyone in the city, we need to keep in mind, or that you recognize that we have, or perhaps we should think about having?
Well, certainly, it's always there is a program here for seniors that is a good program, but I think more of that based perhaps in the park setting where there are, you know, programs that are available to encourage people to, you know, come to do exercises, yoga, whatever it is that gets people out who are not necessarily keen on exhibiting their limitations in public. You know, I belong to the YMCA in Burlington because they do such a good job at getting people who are, some of whom are disabled. I'm both mentally disabled and physically disabled, and getting those people to participate in programs and enjoying it and benefiting from it. And I don't know how transferable some of that would be in the settings that we have here in our parks and facilities. But and I don't know that it isn't being done, you know, to some extent. But I would think there'd be more of an opportunity for that. For the kids, I don't know how many children's programs that already exist, and whether or not there are people who are in the lower income strata that are able to take advantage of those programs, whether because of economic reasons or because there is a feeling that they don't belong to the group that's participating in those programs. And I would be interested in looking into that further because I think those are the people who especially need to be afforded the opportunity to participate and encouraged to do so, even if their parents aren't as keen on seeing to it that they do. And that is a real challenge.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us?
No, thank you for your time. I know you've got a full agenda.
You're welcome, and thanks for applying again. All right. Tom Bailey, are you in the room?
Sure.
Paging Tom Bailey,
I am Tom Bailey.
and the applicant for the Economic Development Committee. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Are you?
Oh, you're good. It's not 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Like it was last night. So you are an incumbent, and you've been serving for, how long have you been on the committee?
Maybe 2 or 3 years. I think 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you still chair?
I am.
You're chair right now?
Yep. At least we'll see. We'll have some new people on board.
That's
And
good.
one of the jobs of a leader is to train your replacement. And certainly I would aim in that direction. We are just new, so let's see what happens. And then we have an agenda this year that's certainly entertaining. So
Right. So what do you want to tell us about the committee's work so far and your hopes for and dreams for next year?
what would you like to know?
You tell me.
Since when you left?
Well, I was asked to leave.
What?
I had to go join another committee.
Oh, I know. I understand.
We redid the
I didn't mean
committees
it like you depart, like you walked out on us. I just meant, what's happened since then.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of really good information that was given out, about when I was there.
And we've done more.
And some good people that had
We
good
do.
ideas.
So what's happened is Mike Biama moved to Shelburne, so he's done.
Darn.
He is very interested in the economic development plan, and will support that operation. And of course, his day job is the landlord of Tech Park.
Yeah.
So, it's of course disappointing that the Tech Hub didn't get its first round of money, but they're still, exciting. They're looking for grants, and they expect to maybe get funded on the next round. Can you hear me all right? Or yeah, I just didn't know if the mic was working.
Yeah, they didn't get their first round, but they're seeking other
Yeah,
sources of
they
funding.
are.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a long time ago.
Let's see. Ken Lynch also has left. He got appointment to a committee he was very excited about. and decided he could only do one. So, but the good news is that so that meant 4 vacancies this round. John Burton's, mine, Ken's, and Mike Biama. The good news is John's reapplying, and and I recommend strongly that you approve him. He's been a big contributor. He and I worked very actively over the last year on childcare and other things. And then I also have recruited a woman, as I indicated in my little blurb to you. I'm looking for talent and diversity. Emma Schuldeist has both. She's in her late 20s, and she is a lobbyist with the state legislature. So she'll be coming in, I think, tomorrow, but I'm not sure how she's scheduled. So that leaves 1 vacancy, and you had an applicant earlier. As I said in my little blurb to you, sometimes, because we're recruiting for talent as well as diversity, and sometimes it may be better to leave a spot vacant and hope for more talent than to take somebody because they're the only applicant, or they may or may not bring something to the table. And I don't know Stephanie Higgins at all, so I'm not commenting one way or the other about her, other than what you just heard. Interestingly, yesterday morning, because I'm trying to outreach regionally a bit more and talk to different people who are connected economically. And I met with a woman who's an economic development person with the city of Burlington. That's her day job. And she lives in I discovered in the meeting, she lives in South Burlington. And I went, and I said, Economic Development Committee. She said, yeah, I'd love to be on it. And I said, God, I wish I'd known this a week ago, because I could have gotten you an application and gotten it in for interviews. So I don't know how if you're going to open this up again. But we have, having tried hard to recruit people and mostly been turned down. I know you all have been in the business of trying to recruit people for things, and usually you don't get them. And that's been my experience when I'm looking for specific talent. But she'd be great, and if you would entertain taking an additional applicant, I will certainly run around and get her to apply and get her application in. Let's see. So, the original question though was, what's going on? So you certainly know about the Strategic Economic Development Plan, and that's going to be a lot of our work plan over the next year. And then we also are waiting for your guidance for developing our additional work plan, because I think that's the system we're using rather than working up our own. We get guidance from City Council as to what they're looking for from a committee, and then we try to run with it. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we shall see. Part of it is, I'm hoping for getting together with a new committee. We only have we have 2 new members, which are Chris Kerrigan and Becca Killian, but they've only been to, like 3 meetings. And I was out west I appeared remotely, but I was out west for them. So I've had a chance to sit down with Chris and have conversation. And of course, Chris brings a lot of talent to the table. We're very fortunate to have him. He knows a lot of people as well. And in some respects, it's almost complementary to people that I and other people know because of his dealing with the state. And then, of course, he's now connected with UVM. I followed the Tech Hub pretty well, and John Burton has as well. And I think that's huge for us because there again, the skills, well, what I refer to as the problems that we have are all pretty much regional, at least. The problems that have been raised even here tonight about housing, childcare, the stuff that businesses need, we almost all in the region have the same issues. Um, I refer to them as problems. Alana Blanchard says, "No, Tom, they're opportunities," and she's right. So I'm hoping that we can do more with that this year. And who knows, uh, everybody wants to jump ahead and say what should be in the economic development plan, and that really belays the point. We really have to let the process take its course and um, see where we end up and see how it informs the city too. So that's probably more than you wanted to know.
No, thanks. Other
Anything
questions
else?
from counselors?
Yeah, I had a quick question, Tom. You know, we had talked about kind of right-sizing some of these other committees as we're going through this process.
Yep.
Given the focus on an economic development plan this coming year, would you, and the fact that you have identified at least another potential candidate, would you recommend expanding this committee?
I've thought about that. Um, 9 would seem better than 7. Right now, if we got 9 today, we'd have a harder time with quorums than we have right now. I would work hard and get others to work hard to try to recruit talent, again, as well as diversity. I mean, when I got on, it was almost old white men like me, well, a couple of youths, but they were men, and they're gone now. So we certainly have been successful at least getting one woman. If you bring on Emma, there's another, and she's a youth too, but she brings that perspective, but the talents that go with it. Um, I think considering what could be on our plate, what the potential is, yes, I would like to see it expand, and maybe give us a start date of, so I can start recruiting for it before before we're suddenly hobbled with having to fill a quorum, because we did miss our July meeting because we didn't have a quorum. Um, so anyway, so to answer your question, yes.
So, Tom, I acknowledge
Yep.
your valid request to receive direction from the council. But what would you like to work on?
I don't know. I have to sit down with last year's work plan. John and I did a good workup on childcare, which is certainly relevant to the employers and the business community. And we worked up a questionnaire, which we could circulate, but and I would want to send it to the employers so they would know how much their staffs were impacted by the childcare issues within their own shops. I suspect that most employers don't know, and nobody supports childcare within their system locally, except Vermont. Vermont Information Processing up on Water Tower Hill. They've had a thing there since the 90s, and they value it for just all of those reasons. It's how it helps the business. It's how the people that have their kids in childcare in the different parts of it talk to each other when they're dropping off and picking up. But of course, they also have a clinic that they did right across the street from them. So they've gone whole hog. I know Beta is starting a pilot project, but it's strictly that. They're not going to attempt to cover all their workers, and they're setting that up so when they develop other sites, when they actually do more manufacturing, they'll be able to do it there as well. Well, anyway, so that's one that I would like. We don't have the staff to process. We don't have the ability to process the data that we collect. So, I mean, that's a tech problem which I should be able to solve. But we'll see what we can do. And also, we've had Act. I keep wanting to say 76. It's the child care one that the last part, the last step of, started on July 1. And so I think by the end of the year, we will know how impactful that has been and successful. And that might frame what we would want to do going forward. I've talked to employers a little bit, or childcare people that we met, about what it's doing for them, and it's bit by bit. So we will see. Of course, in Burlington, that's huge because they had a whole program. So there where they funded it, and that was subsumed to a large degree by the new law. So they're putting most of their resources now towards new child care centers. I think that's what they're doing. Anyway, I don't know what we'll, I'm not sure what we would do going forward. I'd have to look at the list and also see what the committee wants to do because we have new people.
Mike, did you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Just two questions, one factual, one sort of perspective judgment. The Strategic Economic Development Plan, which is, I guess, the essence of why the committee was created, that's now in the works. Is there a prospective time frame? Or?
There absolutely is.
Okay.
Alana has been tasked and is jumping on it. She circulated late yesterday, her a draft RFQ, and it includes the steps where we should have a consultant by November. So with a contract by November, and of course there'll be a timeline depending on what the consultant, what we find from the consultant goes from there. I say we. This is going to be staff driven largely, and it should be. This is their expertise, not mine.
I would say it's going to be community driven.
Okay.
Staff supporting it.
Okay. Well, it's staff implemented. Let's put it that. Maybe that's the better word.
I'd say staff supported.
Yeah. And the committee too. I mean, obviously, we're excited about it and want to see it successful. But it's something that we'll have to see what comes in for what we get out of an
So the
RFQ and RFP.
It will define the time frame in which this report or this plan will need to be sort of created and made ready for prime time, or are we thinking, or do we have any estimates? A year, 18 months, 6 months, 2 years?
I don't.
It would at this time.
At this point, I've never done one of these. Fortunately, Jesse has. Fortunately, when I suggested we would do this, what I presented to you, she had said, suggested how we should approach it. And that's what we went into a meeting with and came out with a request that seemed to make sense. So I would hope within the next year. I mean, once you have a consultant, then they are off and running ideally, and I would think
from the end of the year that should
by
be
2025.
Okay.
You should
the end of the year that should be flushed out. Great, thank you. The other question I had, you talked about working hard, and I applauded to create different perspectives on the committee. You emphasize gender, youth. Are there different sort of professional perspectives or other perspectives you think that would be something that we should all keep in mind if we're trying to get this holistic approach of what the community wants in this particular area?
Well, that's why I'm pleased we got Chris. I'm pleased if you approve Emma because of their talents as well. If you opened up the person I spoke with yesterday morning, because I just agreed to meet with her for coffee, and it was like, oh, you live in South Burlington, and and she's working on this, because that's Burlington and South Burlington really should be working together. When I was on the panel at UVM Rise, I was on a Tech Hub panel, and there was somebody from Hula and Rob Lair and Tim Smith from Franklin County Economic Development Corp. So I was the only volunteer. They were both full-timers working on this. And it was set up as kind of competitively as to where the tech hub, when it's built, should be built, a building. So it was sort of, I pitched South Burlington's comparative advantages, but then said, really, for what we're doing, we should be all working together, and quoted you about lifting all boats. And Rob was quoting that by the end of the meeting, too. So, and it makes sense. As I've said, we should look around with partnering with Burlington for more stuff, and we know they're crazy. They know we're crazy. I mean, there's a bit of that, but at the same time, they have talents that we don't have, and we really can inform each other rather than just trying to solve problems in our own silo. That's me, but
Thanks, Tom.
You have any questions for us, Tom?
Nope.
All right, well, thanks for applying.
Yep.
And we'll be in touch.
By all means.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's all that's on our list? True? True. Okay. So,
Can I just clarify, Tim?
Yeah.
Can I clarify that we will not have an opportunity to interview Jonathan?
Pence?
Correct.
Okay, and then we received something from Andrea. I see Ryan online, and I don't believe we received anything from Darylyn, but she's also online.
Neither are on this official list, but there was a late email about Ryan, so.
So, Darylyn participates in lots of meetings, so she may just be observing, but certainly could weigh in. We did.
Yes, that's it. I'm simply observing. I announced to the committee quite a while ago I would not reapply.
Darylyn, I thought you might have been reconsidering. Just checking.
No, but thank you.
And the deadline for candidates was August 12th, and we got Ryan's yesterday, so I asked Andrea to forward that directly to you.
Okay, great. So, okay, moving to agenda number 5, which is other business. Is there any, other than us meeting tomorrow at 6:30 tomorrow, right? To finish up the rest of the list, right? Any other
6,
business?
right?
6 tomorrow?
6:30.
Oh, the other meeting was moved. Sorry, never mind. Yeah.
Okay. No other
The steering
business?
committee
Yeah.
switched it.
All right, so then, other than that, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
And we have motion second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, everybody online. Good night.